So here's the thing about being the newest species in the Galactic Council. You get invited to all the important meetings, sure, but everyone treats you like the intern who showed up to the board meeting in cargo shorts. Which is basically what happened when Captain Marcus Webb and his engineer buddy Rico Tanaka arrived at the Architect's Bridge. The bridge itself was impressive, Marcus had to admit. 50,000 years old, stretching across a void between dimensional spaces, made of some crystalline material that definitely wasn't on any periodic table he'd ever seen. It looked like someone had taken the Golden Gate Bridge, dipped it in stardust, and taught it to glow ominously. "Behold," announced Ambassador Threx, a bird-like alien whose feathers seemed to ruffle with anxiety, even when he was trying to sound impressive. "The legendary gateway to the Architect's Portal Network. Instant travel to 10,000 worlds, built by the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known." "Cool," Marcus said, unwrapping a protein bar. "Does it work?" The silence that followed could have flash-frozen a sun. Professor Cavalax, who looked like someone had given a squid a PhD and a superiority complex, turned 3 of his eye stalks toward Marcus. "Does it work?" he asks. "Does it work?" As if 500 cycles of research by the galaxy's finest minds would have overlooked simply turning it on. "So that's a no," Rico muttered, pulling out her datapad. "The bridge has never been activated," Threx explained, his voice taking on that patient tone people use when explaining things to children or golden retrievers. "The architects vanished eons ago, leaving no instruction manual. We have been attempting to decipher the activation sequence for longer than your species has had written language." Marcus looked at the bridge's interface. It was a massive wall of crystalline panels, covered in symbols, geometric patterns, and what looked suspiciously like wavy lines with dots. The assembled aliens, representing about 30 different council species, were clustered around various sections with enough scanning equipment to stock a small radio shack. The Vrelians had brought their quantum computers, which were humming away and producing results that probably meant something to someone. The Mothax delegation stood in a circle, attempting telepathic interface, which mostly looked like they were having a synchronized headache. And the Zorgons, because the Zorgons were the Zorgons, had apparently tried shooting it with plasma at some point, based on the scorch marks. "Right," Marcus said. "And we're here because Earth's inclusion in the Council requires participation in major archaeological endeavors," Cavalax said, somehow making it sound like Marcus had shown up to help move furniture. "Consider this a learning opportunity." Rico was already walking the perimeter, her engineer's eyes scanning the interface. Marcus followed, mostly because standing next to Cavalax was making him feel judged on a molecular level. "What are we even looking for?" Marcus asked. "The activation sequence," Threx fluttered over, clearly appointed as their babysitter. "Every species has attempted their own approach. Mathematical formulas, linguistic patterns, energy frequency modulation, interpretive dance." "Someone tried interpretive dance?" "The Mothax are very committed to holistic problem-solving." Marcus stared at the wall of symbols. There was something familiar about them, tickling the back of his brain like a forgotten song lyric. The wavy lines, the dots, the way they were arranged in groups of 5 horizontal lines. "Hey, Rico," he called out. "Does this look like anything to you?" She came over, squinted at the panel. "Are those staff lines?" "That's what I was thinking." Cavalax slithered over because apparently they weren't allowed to have a private conversation. "Staff lines. Please enlighten us with your primitive human interpretation." "Musical notation," Marcus said, pointing at the symbols. "Like, for music. Songs, notes and stuff." The professor's laugh sounded like a dolphin choking on helium. "Music. Yes, of course, the architects, the most technologically advanced species in galactic history, would lock their crowning achievement behind interpretive noise patterns. Next, you will suggest we simply ask it nicely. I'm just saying it looks like sheet music. Your species has been in space for less than a century, and you presume to understand architect symbology that has mystified scholars for millennia." Rico held up her pad. "Actually, I'm running a pattern analysis, and the correlation is pretty strong. These symbols correspond to what we'd call notes. The spacing suggests rhythm, and this here looks like a time signature." "Correlation is not causation," Kvalak sniffed, which apparently was a universal phrase among smug academics. Marcus stepped closer to the panel. The pattern was right there, clear as day once you saw it. Not complex harmonies or alien scales. Something simple. Something almost stupidly simple. Something everyone knew. While Kvalak launched into what was apparently going to be a 2-hour lecture on harmonic dimensional frequency resonance theory, Marcus tuned him out and focused on the patterns. Rico was running her analysis, but Marcus was going old school, just looking at it like he was back in 7th grade band class, trying to figure out if he was supposed to play his trumpet or just sit there looking confused. The symbols repeated in a specific pattern. 5 notes, then 2. Then the whole thing again. The key to understanding architect technology, Kvalak droned on, is recognizing that they operated on principles that transcend conventional physics. Their mathematical frameworks existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. Their quantum processors could calculate probability matrices that would take our best computers millennia to approximate. Uh-huh, Marcus said, still staring at the wall. 5 notes. 2 notes. 5 notes. 2 notes. Are you even listening, human? Shave and a haircut, Marcus muttered. Excuse me? Marcus turned around. Shave and a haircut. 2 bits. It's the pattern. 5 notes, pause, 2 notes. It's the oldest knock pattern in human history. The assembled alien stared at him like he'd just started speaking in quantum equations, which in a way he had. Threx's feathers did their nervous ruffle thing. A knock pattern. You are suggesting that the architects, who built megastructures across dimensional boundaries, used a knock pattern as a security system. I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds dumb, Marcus admitted. But look at it. The rhythm, the spacing, the way it's laid out. That's not complex alien math. That's call and response. That's a jingle. Kvalak's tentacles writhed in what was probably the squid equivalent of eye-rolling. And I suppose you reached this groundbreaking conclusion through rigorous analysis and peer-reviewed methodology. Nah, I just used to knock it on my sister's door to annoy her. This is precisely why Earth should have remained in the observer category, Kvalak announced to the crowd. They approached the galaxy's greatest mystery with childish pattern recognition and bathroom humor. Rico looked up from her pad. Actually, boss, his childish pattern recognition might be onto something. If I map the note values to standard Earth musical notation, accounting for the spacing as rests, it does create a rhythmic pattern consistent with call and response structures. And look here, there's a blank space at the end, like it's waiting for completion. Coincidence, Kvalak declared. The architects would never employ such pedestrian methodology. Why not? Marcus asked. Maybe that's why nobody's figured it out. Everyone's looking for the complicated answer when the simple one is sitting right there. Preposterous. Only one way to find out. Marcus turned back to the wall, took a breath, and started whistling. 5 notes. Shave and a haircut. The bridge hummed. Just a little. Just enough. Every scanning device in the chamber started beeping at once. The Vrelian quantum computers began displaying readouts that made their operators' antennae stand straight up. The Mothaks broke their telepathic circle with a unified gasp. Kvalak's tentacles went rigid. That was luck. Random chance. The bridge has been known to occasionally produce ambient resonance that means nothing. Right, Marcus said. So if I finish the pattern, nothing will happen. He whistled again. 2 notes, 2 bits. The bridge exploded with light. Not literally exploded, which was good because Marcus had enough paperwork to file as it was. But every panel lit up at once, cascading waves of illumination racing along the structure like the universe's most expensive Christmas display. The crystalline material sang, actually sang, harmonizing with the whistle and frequencies that made Marcus's teeth ache in a weirdly pleasant way. The interface wall reorganized itself, symbols flowing like liquid before settling into new configurations. Numbers appeared, or what looked like numbers in about 6 different counting systems. Coordinates, maybe. Designations. A menu system that looked like it was straight out of some cosmic operating software. Threx made a sound like a tea kettle having an existential crisis. By the stars. He did it. The human actually did it. Statistical anomaly, Kavalax insisted, but his voice had lost most of its confidence and gained a slight tremor. The bridge was on a delayed activation timer that just happened to coincide with random human noisemaking. "Professor," one of the Vrelian technicians called out, his voice shaking. The quantum analysis confirms deliberate response to acoustic input, matching the exact frequency and rhythm pattern of the human whistle. The probability of coincidence is 0.000003%. So basically impossible, Rico translated helpfully. Marcus grinned at Kavalax. "Still think it's bathroom humor?" The professor didn't answer. He was too busy having what Marcus could only describe as a very public academic crisis, all his tentacles drooping in the universal language of defeated ego. The bridge continued its light show, and Marcus had to admit, for a 50,000-year-old lock that opened to a stupid knock pattern, it was pretty damn impressive. Part 3. The universe's worst password. The Galactic Council chambers descended into what could politely be called organized chaos, and more accurately be called a bureaucratic meltdown. Aliens were shouting in 14 different languages, arguing, gesticulating with appendages that humans didn't even have names for, and generally having the kind of collective breakdown that happens when your entire worldview gets whistled into obsolescence. Ambassador Threx was trying to maintain order, but his voice kept cracking into higher registers. "Please, distinguished colleagues, if we could all just take a moment to process this development in a calm and rational manner." "Calm?" shrieked a Muthax delegate whose name Marcus hadn't caught. "We built an entire religion around the harmonizer prophecy. There are temples, sacred texts, a whole priesthood dedicated to preparing for the day when the Chosen One would unlock the bridge through divine cosmic resonance." "And it turned out to be a knock-knock joke," Marcus offered helpfully. The Muthax made a sound like a balloon deflating into an existential void. Kavalax had recovered enough of his composure to be indignant instead of shocked. "This proves nothing. So the bridge responds to a simple acoustic pattern. That does not mean the architects intended such a trivial solution. Perhaps the activation sequence degraded over time, simplified itself through some quantum decay process we don't understand. Or," Rico said, scrolling through the data flooding her pad, "maybe they just used a simple lock because they wanted to." Impossible. The architects were legends. Their technology transcended mortal comprehension. Their technology opened with shave and a haircut, Marcus pointed out. A Vrelian scientist was running calculations so fast his fingers were basically a blur. "I am computing alternate explanations, but all models point to the same conclusion. The lock was deliberately designed to require a specific rhythmic acoustic pattern, and that pattern corresponds exactly to the human's input. This was intentional." Threx paced back and forth, his talons clicking on the floor. But why? Why would beings capable of building dimensional bridges use such a simple security system? It makes no strategic sense. Any species with basic audio capability could theoretically activate it. Could they, though? Rico mused. How many species in the Council use musical communication? Most of you evolved into telepathy or digital data transfer or pheromone clouds or whatever. You all got too advanced for simple patterns. Music is a primitive holdover from pre-technological development, Kavalax said, but he sounded less certain now. Is it, though? Because it looks like the architects disagreed. Marcus walked up to the bridge interface, which was still glowing and displaying what looked increasingly like a control panel. Maybe that was the whole point. Maybe they wanted to lock it to species that kept things simple. That didn't overcomplicate everything. A smaller alien that Marcus thought might be called a Pixith squeaked up. The human raises an interesting philosophical point. What if the test was not about technological advancement but about cognitive approach? Pattern recognition over computational power. Intuition over analysis. That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard, Kavalax stated flatly. And yet, Threx said quietly, here we stand, beside an active bridge that 500 cycles of analysis failed to unlock, opened by a human who looked at it for 10 minutes and whistled. The bridge pulsed as if agreeing. New symbols were appearing on the interface, flowing across the panels in what Marcus was starting to recognize as some kind of operational system. It reminded him of old computer terminals, If computer terminals were made of singing crystal and worked in 11 dimensions. There's more, Rico announced, her eyes wide as she processed the incoming data. This isn't just an activation. The bridge is coming fully online. I'm seeing portal coordinates, thousands of them. Network maps, what looks like a directory system. Can you access it? Threx asked, leaning in. I don't know, I'm not the one who speaks architect whistle language. Everyone turned to look at Marcus. Oh no, he said. No. I am not qualified to operate ancient dimensional technology. I fix navigation systems and complain about cafeteria food. That's my skill set. You appear to be the only being in this chamber who can communicate with the bridge, Threx pointed out. I whistled a jingle. That doesn't make me the chosen harmonizer or whatever. Actually, the Mothax delegate said weakly, according to prophecy, it kind of does. Marcus looked at the bridge, at the expectant faces of about 30 different species, and at Kavalax, who looked like he was personally experiencing the heat death of his own universe. Fine, Marcus sighed, but if I accidentally whistle us into a black hole, I'm blaming all of you. He turned back to the interface and whistled the pattern again, just to see what would happen. The bridge responded immediately, the displays shifting and reorganizing. A holographic projection appeared, floating in the air above the control panel. It showed what looked like a map of the galaxy, dotted with thousands of glowing points. Portal locations, breathed Aurelian. It's the entire network. Marcus whistled a different pattern, just improvising now, trying a major scale. The display zoomed in on one sector. He tried a descending scale. It zoomed out. He's navigating it, Rico said, impressed despite herself. The whole interface is musical. Different tunes mean different commands. This is insane, Kavalax muttered. Yeah, Marcus agreed, grinning as he experimented with different whistles and watched the bridge respond like a very expensive, very ancient jukebox. Insane is right. Turns out, operating a 50,000-year-old dimensional bridge network through the power of whistling was exactly as weird as it sounded. Over the next few hours, Marcus and Rico worked through trial and error, testing different melodies while the assembled council members watched with expressions ranging from fascination to barely suppressed horror. Okay, so Happy Birthday opens a portal to coordinate 774-9, Rico called out, marking it on her pad, which according to the Vrelian charts is the Kepler debris field. So basically a cosmic junkyard, Marcus said. Good to know the architects had a sense of humor about birthday presents. He tried another tune, whistling the opening bars of Beethoven's Fifth. The bridge responded enthusiastically, maybe too enthusiastically. A portal snapped open with a sound like reality hiccuping, revealing a swirling vortex of colors that shouldn't exist. Fascinating, Threx murmured, scanning the portal. That appears to lead to the Andromeda Galaxy, a distance that would take our fastest ships 300 years to cross, now accessible in seconds. Cool. Shutting it now. Marcus whistled a stopping pattern, and the portal collapsed. How did you know what to whistle to close it? Kavalax demanded. He'd been furiously taking notes this entire time, despite clearly being in the middle of an ongoing philosophical crisis. I didn't. I just whistled something that felt like stop. You know, like a period at the end of a sentence. You are operating on intuition. Yeah, that's kind of my whole thing. Rico was studying the interface patterns, her engineer brain working overtime. There's a logic to it, though. Major chords seem to activate functions, minor chords seem to deactivate or close things. Ascending patterns navigate forward through menus, descending patterns go back. It's actually elegant once you understand the grammar. Grammar, Kavalax repeated faintly. She describes architect quantum dimensional technology as grammar. Because that's what it is, Rico shot back. It's a language. Musical language, sure, but still a structured system of communication. We're just the first species in the council who still uses this type of language regularly. A Zorgan delegate who'd been suspiciously quiet after the whole shooting the bridge thing spoke up in his grinding voice. Most species abandoned auditory pattern communication millennia ago, evolved past it, too imprecise for complex data transfer. And yet here we are, Marcus said, whistling another experimental pattern. This one brought up what looked like a diagnostic screen. Maybe the architects thought precision was overrated. Or maybe they valued something else entirely, Threx suggested. Music requires mathematics, yes, but it also requires emotion, interpretation, creativity. It exists at the intersection of logic and art. That's actually pretty deep, Marcus admitted. I have my moments. He tried another tune, this time the Cantina song from Star Wars, because why not? The bridge lit up in a pattern Marcus hadn't seen before, and suddenly a section of the structure reconfigured itself into what looked distinctly like a weapon system. Oops. Oops? Kevilax's tentacles flailed. You just armed a weapon system built by beings who could manipulate dimensional physics, and your response is oops? In my defense, I didn't know that song meant fire the space cannon. Rika was already working on her pad. Okay, don't whistle that again like ever. I'm marking it as the forbidden tune. The Cantina song is the forbidden tune. Sure, why not? This day couldn't get weirder. But Marcus was starting to see the pattern now, the underlying structure of how the architects had designed this system. It wasn't random. Every melody type had a purpose. Simple children's songs opened basic portals. Classical music accessed more complex functions. Dissonant patterns seemed to trigger warnings or security features. They built an entire operating system around music theory, he said, the realization hitting him. The whole network runs on it. Which means, Rico continued, that humans are basically the only species in the Council who can operate it effectively. We maintained musical traditions through our entire development. We didn't evolve past it or replace it with something more efficient. We stayed simple, Marcus finished. The implications of that hung in the air like a chord waiting to resolve. The Galactic Council, with all their advanced technology and evolved communication systems, couldn't use the most important piece of ancient technology they'd ever discovered. But humans who still wrote songs and whistled tunes and taught their kids to play instruments could. Threx was the first to say it out loud. The Council is going to need Earth's cooperation to operate the portal network. Yep, Marcus said cheerfully. This will require extensive diplomatic negotiations. Yep. Earth's status in the Council will need to be reevaluated. Yep. You're enjoying this far too much. Marcus grinned. Oh, you have no idea. Kvalax made a sound like a garbage disposal eating a kazoo. This is a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. The fate of galactic transportation infrastructure dependent on primitive human noise-making. Primitive human noise-making, that works, Rico pointed out. There has to be another way. A technological solution. Something we can build that interfaces with the bridge without requiring humans to whistle at it like deranged songbirds. Marcus whistled the tune to Mary Had a Little Lamb just to annoy him. The bridge opened a portal to what looked like a pastoral farming planet. Yeah, good luck with that. After 6 hours of experimentation, multiple portal openings, one accidental weapon activation, and what Marcus was pretty sure was the bridge's equivalent of playing elevator music, Rico made a discovery. There's a master directory, she announced, pointing at a section of the interface that had been displaying what looked like a table of contents. See these symbols? They're not portal coordinates, they're an index, a guide to the entire system. Marcus peered at the pattern. It was different from the others, more complex but also somehow more fundamental, like the difference between a sentence and an alphabet. How do we access it? That's the thing, I think it requires a specific melody, not just any tune, but the right tune, the master key, basically. Threx fluttered closer, his anxiety levels reaching what Marcus assumed was their natural resting state. Can you determine what melody it requires? Rico traced the pattern with her finger. It's arranged in ascending order, 8 distinct notes evenly spaced, no complex rhythms or harmonies, just pure sequence. Marcus stared at it. 8 notes. Ascending. Simple. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. What? The major scale. It's asking for a basic major scale, the foundation of Western music theory. Kvalax, who'd been sulking in a corner while his entire academic career crumbled around him, perked up. A scale. The most elementary musical structure possible. Yeah, that tracks, Marcus said. Everything else has been stupidly simple. Why stop now? Because it is not simple, Kvalax insisted. It is insulting. The architects were gods among mortals, and you suggest their master encryption is an exercise from a child's music primer? Only one way to find out. Marcus turned to the bridge, took a breath, and whistled a clean C major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The bridge didn't just respond. It sang back. The entire structure harmonized with his whistle, amplifying it, layering it with overtones and resonances that turned a simple scale into a symphony. The interface exploded with light, not in patterns this time, but in waves of pure illumination that washed over everyone in the chamber. And then, in the space above the bridge, a hologram appeared. Not a map or a diagram. A person, or at least something person-shaped. The figure was tall, humanoid in basic structure, with features that looked disturbingly familiar. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head with 2 eyes and a mouth. They wore robes that seemed to shift between colors, and their expression was one of profound amusement. Well, the hologram said in a voice that auto-translated into everyone's native language, if you are hearing this, congratulations. You figured it out. You are probably fun at parties. Marcus blinked. Did the ancient architect just make a joke? I am Keeper Ven, the hologram continued. And if you have activated this message, it means you successfully accessed the bridge network using the musical interface we designed. Which means you either maintained simple pattern-based communication or you are really, really good at guessing. The assembled aliens stood in stunned silence. You are probably wondering why we locked the most advanced transportation system in the galaxy behind something as primitive as music. I will tell you. We got tired. Tired, Threx whispered. We spent 10,000 years building incredible technology, solving impossible problems, advancing civilization to heights that would make your contemporary science look like cave paintings. And do you know what we learned? That the species who advanced the fastest, who got the most complex and sophisticated, were also the most insufferable. Kavalax made a strangled sound. They overthought everything, took simple problems and made them complicated. Built elaborate systems when straightforward solutions existed. They lost the ability to see what was right in front of them because they were too busy calculating 17-dimensional probability matrices. The hologram smiled. So we built the bridge network for species that kept things simple, that valued creativity and pattern recognition over pure computational power, that understood the universe operates on both mathematical precision and intuitive grace. Music embodies both. It requires understanding of ratios and frequencies and mathematical relationships, but it also requires feeling it. Knowing when a melody is right not because you calculated it, but because you heard it. This is a test, Rico breathed. This is the test, Ven agreed. The bridge network is locked to musical control because music is the intersection of emotion and logic, art and science, simplicity and sophistication. Species that maintain musical traditions are species that maintain balance. They have not discarded their past in pursuit of their future. The hologram gestured broadly. So if you are hearing this message, it means your species passed. You found the simple answer. You did not overthink it. You trusted your intuition. What happened to the architects? Marcus asked, not sure if the hologram could even hear him. We left, Ven said as if answering. Maybe the message was programmed to respond to common questions. We built this network, scattered some other useful technology around the galaxy, and departed to explore beyond this dimensional space. We got bored of civilizations that took themselves too seriously. Maybe we will find some that do not. The hologram started to fade. The network is yours now. Use it well. Try not to overthink it. And remember, the universe is fundamentally absurd. The species that survive are the ones who can laugh at the joke. Ven's image dissolved into light, leaving behind only the humming bridge and a chamber full of aliens having simultaneous existential crises. Marcus looked at Rico. Rico looked at Marcus. So the architects were cosmic hippies who left because everyone was too uptight, Marcus summarized. That's what I got from it too. And they built the portal network as basically a personality test. Yep. And humans passed because we still whistle stupid songs. Apparently. Marcus started laughing. He couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all, the fact that 50,000 years of legend and prophecy and scholarly research had been bypassed by a knock pattern, and a major scale, was too perfect. Threx looked like he was having a religious experience and a nervous breakdown simultaneously. Kvalax had gone completely still, all his tentacles drooping in what Marcus assumed was the squid version of a blue screen of death. "Well," Marcus said, wiping tears from his eyes, "I guess we should probably figure out how to actually run this thing now." The bridge hummed in agreement, waiting for its next command. The diplomatic fallout from the bridge activation happened faster than a portal jump. Within hours of Keeper Ven's message, Marcus and Rico found themselves in an emergency council session, which apparently was a thing that could be called when the entire power structure of galactic civilization needed a sudden revision. Ambassador Threx was doing his best to maintain order, but his feathers were ruffling so hard he looked like he might achieve flight. "Distinguished colleagues, if we could please discuss this in a rational manner." Rational? Avrelian counselors' antennae were vibrating with barely contained panic. Earth has gone from provisional member to controlling the most important infrastructure in council space in less than a day. That is not rational. That is apocalyptic. Apocalyptic seems strong, Marcus offered from his seat. They'd given him and Rico actual chairs at the main council table now, which was a significant upgrade from the folding chairs in the back they'd had that morning. "You control the portal network," the Vrelian continued. "You could cut off trade, travel, communication between worlds. You have become overnight the most strategically important species in the council. I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds like we planned this. Did you not?" "No, I just whistled a song. This is as weird for me as it is for you. More weird, actually, because I'm the one who has to figure out how to not accidentally whistle everyone into a dying star." Kvalax, who'd apparently recovered enough to attend the session even if his soul was still processing, spoke up. "The human raises an unfortunate point. The bridge responds specifically to human musical patterns. Our analysis confirms that other species can activate it, but the interface seems optimized for human acoustic range and musical theory structure. We are dependent on Earth for access." "Not just access," Rico added, pulling up her data on the main display. "The entire control system is based on human-scale musical notation, major scales, minor scales, pentatonic patterns, rhythmic structures we use in everything from children's songs to symphonies. Sure, other species could learn it, but it would be like learning a completely foreign language from scratch. Humans are already fluent." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Marcus could practically hear the political calculations happening behind dozens of different types of eyes. The Mothax delegate who'd had the religion crisis earlier spoke quietly. Earth was granted provisional council membership 3 years ago. Limited voting rights, observer status on most committees, restricted trade agreements. This was deemed appropriate for such a young species. "And now?" Threx prompted. "Now they control infrastructure that predates the council itself. Infrastructure that is essential to our civilization's function." The Mothax's wings rustled. "We need to discuss full membership, immediately." "Full membership?" a Zorgon counselor rumbled. "They have been in space for less than a standard galactic cycle. Their technology is primitive, their military negligible, their diplomatic experience minimal. Their military is negligible because they didn't need one," Rico pointed out. "They had us. They also had this bridge network sitting undiscovered. Funny how that works." Marcus elbowed her. "Probably don't antagonize the guys who could squash our planet like a bug." "They won't, though. They need us now." "Still, diplomacy." Threx cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should discuss terms. Earth clearly has leverage in this situation. What does humanity want in exchange for operating the portal network?" Marcus hadn't actually thought that far ahead. He'd been too busy trying not to break anything expensive and ancient. But now that the question was on the table, his mind started turning. "Full council membership," he said. "Not provisional, not limited, full voting rights on all committees and decisions." "Agreed," Threx said immediately. "And trade agreements. Fair ones, not the garbage contracts you were offering before where Earth provides resources and gets basically nothing back." That is a matter for the Trade Commission, but I suspect they will be amenable to renegotiation, Threx said, his voice dry. Also, Marcus continued, warming to the topic, we want pizza rights. Excuse me? Pizza, Earth food. We want the right to establish pizza restaurants on every council world. It is non-negotiable. Kavalax's tentacles twitched. You are leveraging control of ancient technology to spread fast food. Hey, if we're going to be traveling around operating bridges and opening portals, we need good food available. Also, pizza is objectively great and the galaxy deserves it. I second the pizza demand, Rico added. Also tacos, and coffee. Real coffee, not that synthetic swill the Vrelians make. Fine, Threx said, making notes. Pizza rights, taco rights, coffee imports, anything else? Marcus thought for a moment. Yeah, actually. We want Kavalax as our liaison. Every eye stalk in the chamber turned toward the professor, who looked like he'd just been sentenced to some uniquely horrible punishment. Me? You want me? You're the most qualified, Marcus said, grinning. You've spent longer studying this stuff than anyone. Sure, you were wrong about pretty much everything, but you know the academic side. We need someone who can help us understand what we're doing beyond just whistling at things and hoping for the best. This is punishment, Kavalax muttered. This is cosmic punishment for my hubris. This is an opportunity, Threx corrected. Professor, you will be working directly with the bridge operators, studying architect technology from the inside. Your research papers will revolutionize the field. My research papers that will detail how I was wrong about everything, and 2 humans figured it out with whistle patterns. Academic humility builds character, Rico said cheerfully. The council session continued for another 3 hours, hammering out the details of Earth's new status. Full membership was approved unanimously, because when you control the galaxy's transportation network, voting tends to go your way. Trade agreements were fast-tracked through committees that had been stalling them for years. Cultural exchange programs were established, which was code for yes, you can sell pizza to aliens. By the time they adjourned, Marcus felt like he'd just lived through a week compressed into a day. He and Rico walked out of the chambers together, Kavalax trailing behind them with the enthusiasm of a man walking to his own funeral. So, Rico said, we're bridge operators now, official galactic position. Yep. We're going to be traveling around, activating portals, teaching other humans how the system works. Yep. This is either going to be the best job ever, or we're going to accidentally whistle the galaxy into oblivion. Probably both. They reached the transport station, where a council shuttle waited to take them back to the Earth delegation quarters. Threx had followed them out, his diplomatic mask slipping enough to show genuine curiosity. Captain Webb, if I may ask, what will you do if you encounter another architect lock? Other ancient technology that might require similar solutions? Marcus pulled out his data pad, which had his entire music library loaded on it. Everything from classical symphonies to rock ballads to that one novelty song about a purple people eater that he kept meaning to delete but never did. Well, Ambassador, I've got about 10,000 songs on here, plus I can whistle pretty much anything I've ever heard. And Rico knows music theory better than I do. Between us, we've probably got the architect's entire language mapped out. That is either very reassuring or utterly terrifying. Again, probably both. Threx's feathers settled into something that might have been amusement. You know, when we first invited Earth to join the Council, many members argued against it. They said humans were too impulsive, too emotional, too illogical, that you would never fit into galactic civilization. And now? Now I think perhaps galactic civilization needed some illogical thinking. We had become so advanced, so sophisticated in our approaches, that we lost the ability to see simple solutions. The architects left us a test, and we failed it for 50,000 years because we were too proud to consider that the answer might be simple. So we're the galaxy's reality check. You are the species that still whistles, Threx said simply. Never forget that. Never become too advanced to see what is right in front of you. Marcus nodded, filing that away under wisdom from bird aliens who are surprisingly deep. Kavalax caught up to them, his tentacles moving in resigned acceptance. If I am to be your liaison, We need to establish protocols, safety procedures. I will not have you randomly whistling at every piece of ancient technology we encounter. Where's the fun in that? Marcus asked. Fun. He asks about fun while discussing artifacts that could reshape dimensional boundaries. Relax, Professor. We're not going to break the universe. You activated a weapon system with a cantina song, and then we turned it off, see? Responsible. They boarded the shuttle, and as it lifted off, Marcus looked back at the architect's bridge, still glowing in the distance. 50,000 years it had waited. 50,000 years of prophecies and research and attempts by the galaxy, its best and brightest to unlock its secrets. And all it took was a human who remembered a knock pattern from annoying his sister. Hey, Rico, he said as they settled in for the flight. Think there's other stuff out there? Other architect tech locked behind stupid simple solutions? Oh, definitely. And now the council knows exactly who to call when they can't figure it out. We're going to be so busy. We're going to be legends. We're going to have access to really good pizza on every world. Now you're thinking priorities. Kavalax groaned from his seat. I am going to need so much therapy. Marcus grinned, pulled out his data pad, and scrolled through his music library. Somewhere out there, the architects had left more surprises, more tests, more cosmic jokes waiting for someone simple enough to get the punchline. And humanity, the species that never stopped whistling, that never evolved past the joy of a good song, was ready. The universe was fundamentally absurd, just like Keeper Venn had said. The species that survived were the ones who could laugh at the joke. Marcus was laughing already.